My mind is set, my grind is set, my heart on ice is cold. I'm only here to even the score. Whoa. My mind is set, my grind is set, my heart on ice is cold. We down right now, but did it before. Whoa. See from here we going up. Made the call, I shown up. Now the game is sewn up. Say my name is blown up. We up, 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 we up. See from here we going up. Made the call, I shown up. Now the game is sewn up. Say my name is blown up. We up, 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 we up.
What up, Night Nation? It's your boy Roger, and it's another episode of The Knighted Ones. In fact, it's number 126. Here we are creeping up again. As a reminder, we're the only podcast that features a former UCF national champion, a former UCF radio host, an ESPN analyst and hoops player, an infamous, yes, that's infamous rapper, our resident influencer and IG star, Shooting the Breeze, talking UCF sports. Remember to follow us on YouTube, IG, and check out the 70 plus teams and conferences on the College Huddle and the Big 12 Huddle. This week, I brought it back because spring football started. So the anthracite, my favorite color for any UCF jersey, this is my public protest to please bring anthracite back because it is the best looking jersey in my opinion. That being said, this week, spring practice, like we said, started. We had some news about our QB situation, so we'll talk about that a little bit. We got some injury updates as well on Sincere Edwards and Horace Lockett, so we'll talk about that. Who is taking snaps at the spring, during spring, and what to expect. We got some UCF women's hoops news that I've been calling for a while. We'll talk a little bit about Coach Bear, Isabella Vega, and the softball team. Baseball is on fire, so there's a little bit to talk there because they are now ranked. And obviously, our Josh Lazar will be here with us talking his quick update, sometimes funny fact of the week, and his quick update on other UCF sports that a bunch of people don't watch. But I do. So without further ado, let me bring to the stage, last but not least, but always last, Josh Lazar.
I can't be last if I am first. This is hey, low world. It's Josh here. I will say this. Trey may make a surprise appearance. He was in the chat. He did say he has a little one going down now. We'll see what happens. But you have me and Roger as your pretty much solid standard until one of us has to do something for work, basically.
Yeah, pretty much, unless we're traveling somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes even when we're traveling. So
that has happened.
Welcome to the show. Football is back, sort of.
Kind of.
Right?
Yeah.
It's spring camp. The guys have started this week. We were 3 weeks later than we usually are, and there may be a reason for that. So, but let's just get to that and talk a little bit about our great hope, Alonzo Barnett, who's going to be our QB this year. He had some surprising news that was unveiled today, actually. He didn't participate in the first part of spring. Well, he participated in the first part of spring that was open to the media, but then immediately went inside. And it turns out that he has had a little bit of a surgery on the knee. And, at first blush, I don't think it's really anything to worry about. We don't know what it is. It may have been just cleaning up the knee a little bit. But it's never good if you're a UCF fan and we have yet another QB that's starting injured or something wrong with them. That being said, Scott Frost did address it today. He did do a presser. As we told you, he's going to do 3 during spring. He's going to do 1 in the beginning, 1 in the middle, 1 at the end. And media availability is not a whole lot this year. But what he said, his quote, we're going to take it slow with him, just kind of out of caution. He's dealing with a couple little things and we don't want to push it. He's been doing an unbelievable job in off-season workouts with the guys and getting himself ready, and he'll be back up and ready to go at some point during spring. But we're going to kind of ease him into it. So he went on further to say that he is doing mental reps. And he will be doing some 7-on-7s with the team. But the big thing is just getting the continuity. He did do a lot of work in the off season as well. So before spring started, we were hearing things about him going out and doing a lot of timing drills and throwing a lot of passes with his wide receivers and all of that stuff to kind of get in rhythm. And now that makes a little bit more sense. So the timing is interesting that he did this surgery then, but it can't be too serious because I can't imagine that Scott Frost is going to be saying, hey, we're going to have him in the latter part of spring. So that tells me they're probably just doing some cleanup on something in the knee. Maybe there's some cartilage or some scarring or something that's going on in there just to get him ready for the season. Was really excited about the way he presented himself. He talked about how his goal was not just their goal was to win the league, but his goal was to not just make it to the NFL, but be a pro football Hall of Famer. So that kind of confidence goes along with some of the commentary we've been hearing from some of the other players, which is he's dialed in, he's really serious, he's really focused when he's on the field, he's dedicated to his craft, and you're starting to hear some of the coaches say that as well. And so those were all good things and things that excited me. When that was coming out, because that's the kind of, mental fortitude and drive and things that we've been lacking in the QB position over the last several years, to be honest. And it certainly doesn't compare to last year's trio of hopefuls when it comes to QB1. Now, Scott Frost also did say today that it feels good to go into spring right now because the number one is definitely going to be Barnett, and and it's nice to go into the offseason kind of filling this, and they're using this time to get some reps with the twos. So we'll talk a little bit more about who the twos were, who was getting reps, etc. But there's a battle for the two position right now. But Alonso is definitely still going to be the one. And we are expecting him to be back at some point during spring. So a little cringeworthy when I first saw and heard that. I was like, oh, no, not again. Here we go. But it makes sense that maybe that's why they pushed spring practice back a little bit. So they got enough practices so that he could come back and get some time with the ones. All right, Josh, what do you think about that? What's your initial reaction? What did your head spin when you heard about that? I mean, what was going on?
My hope is just as someone who hasn't really done a lot of surgeries on his body, I'm hope is just getting his knee scoped or something that's, like you were saying, really in preparation of something, not this is a big problem, right? It sounds like it's preventative / maintenance, right? Probably not preventative, but you know what I mean? Like, not like, oh no, and chicken with the head cut off. And our heads are swiveting, right? I feel like it's a, look, you don't want to hear it. You're not wrong. But this is a part of the game, right? This is when you're leveraging your athletic talents to make money and play a game that we hope all the team loves, things happen, right? I mean, we had our I keep thinking Ava, and I know it's not the right name off the top of my head, from softball, losing a starting pitcher, right? We have injuries in all types of sports all the time. I pulled my hamstring playing pickleball. I had to sit out for a couple of days.
How did you manage that?
I am starting to jump around and run a lot. I've dropped probably about 30 pounds in the last 4 to 6 months. So I'm getting pretty athletic with it. So it's not just me like walking up and if you play pickleball, there's a couple of different styles of players. I am no Annalie Walters, but nor Ben Johns. I am probably 4,000 steps.
Other sports that we don't watch. Okay, go ahead. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going.
But I am jumping and moving around in ways I haven't in the past. And no matter how I stretch, I'm getting towards that age where I'm like, well, I'm good. But yeah. So anyway, that was fun. By the way, for you pickleball fans, I pulled my hamstring down 3.7. We got down to 3.10 and came back and won 12.10 with me hobbling around on 1.5 legs. So I was very proud of that.
So
back
Josh,
into UCF sports, I am a little. I'd rather it now. I'd rather it now than have to do something during the season and have those type of issues, because we go back to Allen's, was it Bortles the last time we had someone the entire season? So yeah. I'm. It's part of the game. And listen,
what's interesting to me too is like with the NFL, right? You get injury, like they get checked out. We just saw this with Crosby and that whole hubbub around that, right? And so I'm wondering, and I don't know the answer to this, but if there isn't, we should absolutely be doing injury. We should be having them do a physical before we sign an NIL contract. So I don't know if they're doing. I don't know, man. This is college football. I'm not sure that we tend to learn things in college football on the after we stub our toe quite a few times, in spite of all of that. But all in all, look, guys, I don't think it's that big of a concern. Scott wouldn't be talking about him coming back during spring, running 7-on-7 drills and doing all of that other stuff. It is it feels to me like it's a scoping or something that happened there. They wanted him in the weight room to build his body. We've been talking about that quite a bit, and how, the way that we're doing weightlifting is different now. Last time that this group was here, a lot of it was focused on agility and speed and that kind of thing. And from everything that we're hearing, it's now based on strength and building that strength so that they can survive the season. So I feel like they had him in here for that. If they had him doing weightlifting, which he was, there was video of him doing weightlifting during the spring, then it couldn't have been that bad of an injury or surgery for him to do that. So I'm not too worried about it. In the meantime, though, we're getting that battle ready for the second for the twos, right? And so on the freshman running backs and quarterbacks, so we're talking about Rocco Marriott and Dante Carr. They're both competing. Both of them got reps. They did. Here's Scott Frost's summary of this. He says, it's hard to come in as an 18-year-old and compete with grown men in college. Quarterbacks, even harder, just with the amount that you have to learn. The danger is always a little bit of paralysis by analysis. You've got so much information in your head that you forget to just play football. I thought both young kids got plenty of reps today and did a pretty good job at times. There's going to be inconsistencies, but that's what you expect. So that's 100% true. Speed of the game, we've talked about it. There's a difference from high school to college. And for QBs, being able to mentally process, remember the plays, where they're supposed to go with the ball, let alone basic reads of defenses. And again, the defenses don't have anything dialed up yet either. They're going to be pretty vanilla, especially when they start spring. So, that's interesting. Scott also said that they were hitting more frequently on long balls now with the QB2s than they did last year in spring. So that, part of that's going to be receivers, part of that's going to be better QBs, but that's a positive as well. So for the first team with Barnett out, as far as snaps were concerned, Caleb Arnett took first team snaps, and that was followed by Keon Jenkins and then Rocco Marriott. So it's interesting that Rocco is getting snaps already versus everybody else. So, it's interesting, especially with Caleb coming in. He was a freshman. He's a redshirt freshman at Boise State. In college, he was a pretty good QB. So it's interesting that he's getting snaps early, but now's the time to do it, especially if your starter's out. And then I think this is more them trying to see what they've got behind, behind Barnett versus anything else. But it's pretty interesting. And then Keon Jenkins, remember, he was the FIU quarterback that we brought in. He's actually a senior this year. A junior this year, 6 foot, 190 pounds from Miami, Florida. This guy, he's completing 62% of his passes, ended the season with 124.7 rating, average 6.6, which is kind of up and down for his career, in 1,700 yards. So, if it were me, I'd be looking at him as a backup. But I think right now they're trying to see what else they have, just in case. If anything last season taught us anything, you can't have enough QBs in the stable to try to move the ball, because I've never seen anything like it before. We had one go down every other game. Yeah. So that's interesting. But again, I expect Keon Jenkins to be number 2, Alonzo Barnett to be number 1. And it seems like they're seeing what they have in Rocco Marriott as well. As far as running backs are concerned, interesting stuff going there. We've got Tavion Swint back. I'm really excited about him. Yeah. Tavion Swint was apparently tearing it up last spring, but remember, he was injured. So he'll be back this year. We've got Landon Chambers, Kaj Baker, Arthur Lewis IV, who is he was a freshman that's coming in there. Adai, who's coming back, didn't get much last year, and then Chance Nixon. But the big name is Duke Watson, right? So we've got Duke Watson's a speed guy, and we've got some bigger guys. Chance Nixon's like a bigger guy that's coming in, to not just last year. We had 2 speedsters, but we really didn't have someone that could get it across the goal line on 4th down. When we need it. We had a problem with that, right? So part of that's the offensive line, part of that is the running back. But we've got some size at running back, and Tavion Swint and Duke Watson. I think Duke Watson takes the number 1 spot. I think Tavion Swint will be number 2, and then Chance Nixon or Kaj Baker there for number 3. So it'll be really, really interesting to see how that shakes out. But I am excited about the running back room, because I think we've got some variety as far as that's concerned. All right, Josh, nothing to add there, clearly. Pregnant pause.
I mean, no, I will say this. I'm not certain what's going to happen in this spring exhibition, whatever that's going to look like in not a couple weeks, but
there'll be no spring game.
Yeah, no spring game, but there's an open. Is it a practice?
It's an open practice. Yeah,
we'll see how open it is. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued about what we have. Let me get back to this piece. I was talking with someone at my daughter's softball game the other day who hasn't seen college sports in years. And when I told him that there was someone from Texas Tech who was a softball pitcher who made $1 million, his jaw dropped. When I talked about what the money is coming into football, yet again, same thing. So those people who are not listening to these podcasts, who are not deep into sports right now, don't understand the dynamics here. And I say all of that to say there's a reason why Nick Saban isn't coaching right now. There's a reason why a lot of people got out of the game. They don't want to deal with this. Gus Malzahn, honestly, is probably one of them. Forget the fact that other things are going on. He was done when it comes to this type of stuff. He wanted to work the way he used to work.
Well, Gus Malzahn got a new job, by the way. He's now on the college football committee as a member of the college football committee. Yeah, which I don't know if that helps or hurts UCF, to be honest.
Those are the people who really should be on that committee. I'll just say that. I feel like that's a pretty reasonable ad. He knows his stuff, but again, it'll be 1,400 SEC teams probably and one Arkansas high school football team. So I say all this narrative to say that having the right person as a head coach makes a difference. One of the other guys was a Rutgers guy, talked about Shiano, and now with NIL, Rutgers is not able to really compete because of the conference they're in and the funding they have and other debts. I think Scott Frost is the right coach with the right attitude, and hopefully we can do as well as we can with the funding we have, which we know is not as much as others.
Well, it's not as much as Texas Tech, but it is competitive with the average people, right? We don't have the $40 million rosters like some of these other schools do.
Yeah. So I feel like this is the first year we have all the time, a reasonable amount of money, still student athletes, but you get it, buying in, and I'm excited. So that's, the running back room looks good. He seems to be very comfortable. The offensive line from a distance, as someone who knows, very little about football, I'm like, hope. They feel very empowered and very happy with where they're at, with the funding they have and the team they built and how it's working. So I am in the cautiously optimistic, yet I've sat at a game versus Pitt 20 years ago and left at halftime because it was that bad. So I'm definitely on the cautiously optimistic. And I've been a UCF fan too long to be like, oh yeah, everything is going to be great. We're going to be 15-0.
Well, Paul Rubel, speaking of offensive line, it looks like he's going to be getting an opportunity too. He's coming at least as a UFDA.
I hope so. I mean,
UDFA. So it looks like he's going to get an opportunity. Now, going to the receivers, moving on from the running backs, and we'll have Alan do a little bit more of a detailed breakdown. He was going to be here tonight, but something happened that he couldn't make it. So next time he'll do a little bit more of a detailed breakdown. But talking about the receivers, Tyron Horns is someone you should watch out for. He's a freshman. So he's going to be someone who's learning, but he could get some playing time as well. Day Farmer, though, he is back. He's the biggest question mark for me as far as the impact he's going to make. Remember, last year he was basically the number one receiver as a freshman last year on this team. He was tearing it up. He was in all the highlight. All you heard was noise about him, and we lost him in spring as well. Last year was I think the worst injury year that I remember as a UCF football fan since I'm 97 was I think my first year of fandom. So Day Farmer, getting him back. Frost says he's pretty solid on his footing. So I'm really interested to see what he's going to bring to the table this year, because he has a great catch radius. He's got good hands. He has the ability to make to create separation, which we didn't have a lot of last year. So that'll be interesting. Dwayne Thomas Jr. is back this year as well. He's getting a lot of run with the ones. We expect him to be kind of one of those X factor type guys. But it'll be interesting to see how much they use him versus Josh Derry. Josh Derry is a speed demon, a shorter guy, a lot like Adrian Killins, one of those gadget play type of guys that you can dump the ball to in space and create some space and allow him to have the speed take over. So it'll be interesting to see which one of those two. I think you're going to see Dwayne Thomas Jr. most snaps, but you're also going to have to you can't hide him or telegraph what you're going to do with Josh Derry. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that, right? Next, you've got Wayden Charles, obviously someone who we were expecting a lot out of. He's also making some noise coming into camp, so high expectations for him. Jordan Bridgewater, highly recruited wide receiver, so we'll see what kind of progress he makes. And the big name that we keep hearing is Caleb Rollerson. So everybody keeps saying he's got the best hands on the team, which is interesting considering some of the people that are there. So he may get some run that we aren't expecting either. But if it were me and we were talking about a starting group, I would put Day in there, Dwayne Thomas in there, and probably depending on how Jordan, or I'm sorry, depending on how Jordan Bridgewater does and Tyron Horns do starting off. Man, I'm having a rough night tonight. Those two may be on opposite ends for you as well. Now, remember, we did add a late receiver, Jordan Nuanua, but he will not be enrolling until summer, so he won't be here until then. Tight ends, big signing Dylan Wade. Getting Dylan Wade back was huge. Remember, he went out into the portal. So he's expected to headline that group as far as the receiving tight ends. He had a great year last year. He transferred to us. He had a great year last year. Caden Peening got some pull as well. We got a late tight end, Dylan Burke, who will be enrolling in summer. Now, Caden Peening is more of that. He can catch, so I'd expect him to be spelling Dylan Wade. It'll be interesting. I don't know who our blocking tight end is going to be just yet. We brought in Grayson Brousseau, who had some noise coming in around him. But I expect our starters to be Dylan Wade with Caden Peening kind of backing him up. And Grayson Brousseau is going to be the guy that you see, on running plays. Offensive line. Oh, boy. What can I say about offensive line?
The team, the coaches seem fine. So
dude, what are they going to say? These guys are all terrible. Like, I don't know. Like,
but they know what is necessary, and we'll see. Like, you got to trust the process. I that's all I can say. Got to trust the process. It can't be that much worse than last year, can it?
Well, I mean, last year they didn't do bad they were actually pretty good on passing plays. They were not good on run blocking, right? So the challenge here is that it's a whole new offensive line. And other than what they've done previously and what they're expected to do, we've got some decent transfers in there with some reps. So it isn't like these are all freshmen or guys that haven't played before, but they still have to play together. So everybody's here for spring, which means they'll get to figure out that offensive line. And not only are they here for spring, but they'll all get reps together, and they're actually being led by a new offensive line coach, which Scott Frost seemed to be pretty enthusiastic about. Had some good credentials coming in. As you guys remember, lost our offensive line coach tragically last year, which created, a real challenge because we didn't have someone coming in to step up. He was an excellent offensive line coach, came from App State, was a good head coach at App State, and just an all-around good guy. So we'll miss Sean this season. But we'll see what happens with this offensive line. I just don't know what to really say. I don't know how good they're going to be, and it's too early in spring for us to really say, all right, this is who we think the starters are going to be. I mean, Camplot is a name to know. I expect him to get some time. Jacob Malava will get some time. He'll be competing for a starting job. And that's, that's really it. So when Allen comes back, we'll have a deeper dive on them. But until these guys play a few snaps, because it's spring, they're all pretty much at the same level. We'll see how they gel together. But there was a lot of time, as Scott Frost talked about this today, they spent a lot of time in the off season since the winter to do that. And the other thing is, Barnett was doing a lot of recruiting for us as well, as were some of the other team members. So that was interesting to hear too, because he's like, I'm here to win. And, because I'm here to win, I want to bring the best possible guys that we can. Now, a position of strength for us last year was edge, right? So we got a ton of edges that came in. So we have Isaiah Nixon, who took a step forward last year. So I expect him to be on the edge. Sincere Edwards, remember, he was a 4-star that we had recruited, was supposed to be coming to us, flipped to Pitt, then came back to us last year. And then unfortunately had a foot injury. So we didn't know what his injury was last season, but this season Scott Frost let it slip that it was a foot injury. He is running pretty much all of the drills. So he's not completely 100% up to speed, but he can put weight on it. He's running the drills like he's supposed to. He's been doing the weightlifting that he's supposed to. So I expect a lot out of Sincere Edwards. He was a really, 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 really solid player for Pitt his freshman year. So broke into the rotation his freshman year, had some solid play there. And then of course was, a big time high school recruit. So the good news is like his injury, he did have to have foot surgery last year, which is why he was out for so long. And it seems like his injury has recovered enough that he's doing really well in spring. So we'll see how that goes. And he's going to have to still work into form, but so is everybody else. And it's early enough that by the time the season rolls around, we should be good to go there. So Sincere Edwards and Isaiah Nixon as a starting 1-2 punch, is pretty solid. So I'm excited about that. Defensive tackle, Horace Lockett. That was an interesting story. Remember later in the season, he was having a heck of a season. And he tore his pec late last season. At Georgia Tech, he had some injuries as well. And then he entered the portal. He explained and came out with an interview and said that his entrance into the portal was because of a family health situation with his mom. He thought he might need to be closer, which is why he was looking at transferring. But then when everything resolved, seemed to work out. So Horace Lockett's back. He is probably 85% where he needs to be for the season. So he's not 100% back, but they're expecting him to be 100% by the season. He is participating in practice. He is moving sleds. He's doing a lot of the things that you would expect someone to do to be able to get ready. And remember, we also have RJ Jackson that's coming back this year as well. The transfer, highly touted transfer from Tulsa, who I think he was conference player, the defensive lineman of the year for the AAC. Started to there was a lot expected. He had a lot of noise early on in the season. He's back and seems to be stronger than he was last year. He was a little out of shape last year. I mean, with linemen, it's kind of hard. You see the NFL combine and you see these guys out here that are like 370, 380 pounds running 5 flat 40s or 5.2 40s. But he seems to be in better shape, and that was a big problem for him. So having both of them back for the spring is awesome. So having Isaiah Nixon and Sincere Edwards and Horace Lockett and RJ Jackson as starters, I think is going to be a really good potent combo. Now, obviously, we're going to have to rotate some guys through there. So Artavius Jones is a guy, and Jefferson LaFontant. LaFontant actually made some noise last year, so I expect him to get some run as well. So I think that's your starting rotations as far as defensive tackle is concerned. Isaiah McNish has some burn as well, and we're expecting him to do well as a transfer, but he's not enrolling until summer, so we won't be able to really see him until at least summer. So I think those are your 4, and those are the ones to keep an eye on. Linebacker, we we actually, I think, did a really, really, really good job backfilling for linebacker. Preston Hall. We got Lewis Carter that's coming back. Lewis Carter did a great job last year. Expect big things out of him. Matthew, I'm going to try this. Achapinti, and then Phil Picchiotti. Both of them were highly rated guys coming out of high school. Both of them had injury problems. So for both of those guys, you're going to be rolling the dice to see what they come forward with. But I think Preston Hall, Rashad Henry, Lewis Carter, and then Jaden Jennings are going to be an interesting, I think that's a good solid rotation. So we'll see who gets what, as the season, as the spring progresses. But that's really excited. Defensive backs, we got a lot of our defensive backs back. DJ Bell, you should remember him. Very, very solid defensive back for us. Braden Marshall is back. For the most part, he's one of those guys that flashes his potential at times during the games, and then some of the rest of the time of the games, you're looking at him like, what's going on here? 4-star prospect, came here with a lot of noise. Antoine Jackson is back. Damari Henderson is back. Caleb Flagg is a name to kind of keep an eye on. Raheem Stroud, Elijah Keys, Jaden Bellamy, obviously, as well. So if I were to look at this, I'd be looking at Braden Marshall, DJ Bell, Antoine Jackson, and probably Jaden Bellamy, and then Jaden Williams are going to be your starters, and there'll be some form of that rotation. I don't know. We're probably going to play a nickel again, or a wild night, or whatever the heck else we want to call it. So we'll have a nickel package. So there'll be a nickel DB. But I expect Bellamy and Bell to get a lot of run. And then for the specialists, we brought in a supposedly good kicker, so it'll be interesting to watch that. The only thing, punting was a little bit of a problem last year, so we've got 3 people that can punt. There's Atticus Bertrams, who's a punter only, Noah McGo, and then Mason Denneberg. Those are the folks that you're going to be looking at. And long snapper will be an interesting one to watch as well, because we've had good long snapping here for a very long time, probably back to when Frost was here. And then before that, obviously, we've got a few NFL long snappers as well that are still in the league. But I would look for Kyle Hicks to be leading the way at the long snapping position. So, by the way, one interesting side note, along with the rosters, they also released the numbers. No number ones this year.
Yeah, kind of like that.
So I think that goes back to the cultural, the cultural mindset of that. And the other interesting thing is Annette got number 10. But that's kind of where we are with spring, right? This is the opening days of spring. We'll have our boy Alan come in and do a little bit more detailed breakdown. But I'm really excited. The QB position, a little frustrated / kind of annoyed more than anything that we get the injury news today for AB. But it does look like he'll be back in the middle of spring. So again, we don't know particularly or specifically what it is, but it is a knee. We think it's a scope, and he should be back within a few weeks. He is going to be running 7-on-7 drills, so he'll get time and has been taking time over the summer. So I don't think that's a big deal. Anything else you want to add to that?
No, I can't. I can't, because you've done a really good job. And what I love, this is where we need to have like a content bot that listens to all these too. I'd love to get your ideas on who the starters were, rip those out, and see where we're at game 1, because you're probably not off by much, minus injuries and surprises that happen between, say, now and in August, maybe early September. But overall, I'm I'm kind of excited. They'll know who the number 2 is, or at least darn close, because you already knew who the number 1 was, and has enough reps that I'm not worried about it, right? And then and from there, they'll learn quick. And well, at least we can't put anything on tape, and then people just leave after a spring game.
Well, the interesting thing for me this year is that the language coming out of camp is completely different than it was last year. And by that, I mean, I think Scott Frost is a lot more comfortable.
He's back in.
Number one, coming out, and he's back to being more confident. He said a few times now, and this is odd for a player's coach, let alone any coach to say, but he definitely has been very vocal about saying that he thought that they improved in most positions as far as talent was concerned this year. Obviously, last year we had to kind of throw together a team.
Correct.
Obviously, the QB being the most glaring one that we had an upgrade at. So, and obviously one of the most important position, well, the most important position on the field. But I'm more impressed with this year's team of who we're bringing back. So I do think we've got some key difference makers that we brought back to this roster. Add on Barnett, people like Day Farmer that were out last year, really getting a handle on what he's going to bring to the table, I think is going to be huge. But the language and everything that's being talked about, everything like small things from, saying that these guys are catching, and his direct quote, I have his direct quote on here. We hit a few deep balls today, which took us a while to do throughout spring and fall camp last year. So the receivers, I thought, had a good first day, but I'll know more after I watch the tape. He keeps saying after I watch the tape, obviously. But he feels a lot more confident about that. He also said the D-line in particular was a lot more active than we were at the beginning of spring ball last year. So again, you're hearing, hey, we focused on this since December and making sure we're bringing the team together. You're hearing, hey, the wide receivers in Barnett got a lot of team in the offseason. You're hearing people that are focused. Scott started off with this year's goal is the Big 12 championship, which is not the language he was using last year. Barnett coming in and really leading the team and setting the tone, and hearing other guys say, well, we're holding each other accountable, all this other stuff. And I know it sounds like, I don't know, whatever, right? You want to say, but the previous years, the language, the body language, Scott, how Scott's talking about things, Zach Duval in focusing on Heft, I think they really learned some lessons as far as, being prepared in spring with their weightlifting program to be able to survive a Big 12, schedule. So I just feel like there's a lot more confidence around the room. And I really like that Barnett is setting the tone in the sense that he's really focused, and everybody said this about him. He's in the film room. He's getting other people in the film room. He's holding them accountable. He's doing those things because he was on a winning team. And as he said, I know what a winning team looks like. And when you hear some of the tape, and I went back and listened to some of the interviews at his previous team, that's what you kept hearing. He's focused. He's really focused on his craft. He's making sure other people, he's trying to motivate others that way. He's going out of his way to do those things. I think having a good QB1, knocking on wood, injuries. I think for QB2, we had some upgrades there as well with some experience mixed in with some younger talent that can come in here. And then bringing back that D-line. I think Isaiah Nixon will take another step this year. He already did last year, and I think he'll fill that role. And then Sincere Edwards and Lockett coming back off of injury and seem to be stronger. Now, I think I did misspeak, I think, on Lockett because he said he wasn't doing sleds. But other than that, they're still out there practicing and have come back from injury. So I expect a lot of things out of this team. I do have a more positive outlook, but again, we'll see how those things shake out. But I'm very much more confident in our receiver room, our tight ends, our tight end room. Just the very fact of having Dylan Wade back is a big enough impact because he's a weapon. and then getting back on the running backs and having a little bit of that shock and awe and not just awe will be yeah. Well, I don't think it was that bad. I just don't think we didn't have that Bowser type person last year. And we've got that guy that can we left a lot of points
at the
in tight games at the goal line, especially early in the season. So big question mark for me is offensive line. And then just basically seeing who will shake out and who will be the ones at the wide receiver spot and the DBs, or I'm sorry, the linebackers. So that's what our preview is for now. Alan will have a lot more details a little later on. Little concerned about Barnett, but I think we're going to be A-okay. All right. Yeah. Let's go ahead and swiv it. Let's talk a little UCF baseball. So UCF baseball finally earns its ranking. We've been thinking about it. We've been talking about it. We were saying, hey, if we get another sweep or we win the weekend, we think we do that after a disappointing midweek game. And they've earned it. So they got another sweep. And that last game, oh my goodness, was, I think it was 13 innings before we closed that one out. And it was
13 innings.
What's that?
As in 13 innings. Yeah, it was a long one.
13 innings before we closed that one out, right? So again, this was Arizona. Arizona is not a very highly rated team this year, but the bats were out. The bats were active. And in the last few games, we played TCU. You had an 18-7 win. Then you had a 9-1 win. Arizona, you had an 11-6 win, and then a 13-3 win, and then the 3-2 win in 13. So we're hitting again. We've been talking about for a couple weeks now. We've been talking about the difference in approach, how we're hitting it, all of that. Very, very solid outing. Again, TCU was one of those teams that was expected to potentially win or at least contend for the championship, as was OSU. How much of that is their injuries and how good they are? Because TCU had no pitching. We told you that going into it. Arizona is not expected to be great, but this team's hitting. You can't take it away from them. And, it doesn't matter if you're talking about D1 pitching and specifically Power 4 pitching at a school, Arizona, that typically has a decent baseball team, and putting up 11 runs and 13 runs on them, you're doing something right. And more importantly, the pitching has come through. So we've got a few guys that have kind of stepped up into Cam Wicker. Really had a coming out party this game. He's been good, but was he starter good? And I think he proved in this series that he is starter good. So that was exciting to see. And I think we've got some other guys that have really kind of stepped up. Gray and a few of the other guys on the pitching side. So I think we have probably 4 guys now that are good enough to start for us. The only challenge, we did lose a couple of guys to injury. So I'm more worried about the depth in tight games when we have to go to the pen. But I do think that, and even in this last game against Arizona, it was a tight game. Went 7 and 6 and a quarter before we got into a tight spot. The defense held really, really well. First base play for both teams was freaking amazing. Moran's doing a really, really good job at first base. Some of the stuff he was scooping out of the dirt or on one hoppers or whatever. Excellent work. The other thing I really liked out of this series is we've been seeing a lot of shifting in the infield for teams that we've been playing against. And we haven't been hitting well into the gaps, and we're starting to be a little bit better at poking those balls through the gaps. Just solid hitting, making contact, making sure you're controlling, pulling when you need to, and seeing us start to get that small ball, just get a playable ball, get on base, move the base runners, and get moving. So all of those things are going to be good for us later on the season. That being said, despite the fact that we thought that OSU and TCU were going to be tough, they weren't as tough as we thought they were going to be. And because of that, we thought we were going to have a really, really high end first 5 games, and it hasn't really turned out that way as far as competition is concerned. Now we play at Penn State. We are ranked. We moved up to number 23 and got our ranking this year. So we play the midweek game, which is tomorrow if you're watching live, or if you're not and listening after. It was the first at Penn State at Lebrano Park. And then we have a weekend series against number 11 West Virginia. And what's interesting? Go ahead.
I would say that this week, I wouldn't say that's where the rubber meets the road, but we've done really well. This is how we're going to see how far we've come, in my opinion, because away game, really good team. I don't see a ranked team until we get to May with Arizona State. So we have a full month. We might win some, lose some. But the only other ranked team in our schedule is in a month. So this really will set a tone. And that's why I'm yet again cautiously optimistic, but I've seen us make that change since that last game against the Cows. And this is the series I'm really interested in.
Yeah, and this is all about strength of schedule, right? So here's the thing.
Yeah.
West Virginia is actually number 2 behind UCF. UCF is leading the Big 12. We actually, despite leading the Big 12, getting ranked this year, our strength of schedule was much harder on the out-of-conference this year than it was last year. So everybody, other than the Cows, I mean, that was a head scratcher. They're going to be a good baseball team in the AAC, but it's a team we should. And it was pitching, but that was also in the middle of the slump that we kind of changed a lot of those things that we were mentioning earlier. UCF's Big 12 record is 8-1. West Virginia is 7-2. And we actually have an 18-8 overall record. They have a 19-5. Overall,
they're a good team. They've been a good team in baseball for a while. They have been. So if we win, it's amazing. If we lose, it's not unexpected. But this is exactly why I'm not discounting the last 9-10 games. This is really where the rubber is going to meet the road to see how good we are. If we get swept and pull an over for 1 or 2. Not going to be good, but it'll be fun. Why again? I'm going to talk about this later in the show. Why is there an Easter Sunday game during the time of Mass? Like not my holiday, but I don't get that. It's a very interesting. Another 12 o'clock ish, right? That's pretty much when people are going to be in church, I think.
Yeah. The interesting thing for me, looking over West Virginia's schedule, they did win the series at Baylor and they won the series at Arizona State. Other than that, they haven't really played anybody. The problem for us is this, right? We are playing at West Virginia, and all of our sports do not do well when we play at West Virginia. Absolutely. They will have a full stadium as well. Full park. They can hit. They're a good hitting team. So this is really going to be a test for the pitchers this week. I mean, they're putting up 16 runs, 10 runs, 9 runs, 13 runs, 7 runs, 12 runs, 11 runs, 13 runs. So these guys can score, and typically they've had lesser pitching but better hitting. And there's been a lot of tight games, 11-10 type games. That they've played in. And their pitching has not been great, but it's really good. So I expect this to be a pitcher's duel. If we can, it's going to be a question on whether our bats show up or and whether our pitching can really lock it down, because they've shown that they're capable of it. But this is probably one of the best hitting teams that they've seen all season long, besides like Miami, which we shouldn't have lost to at least 2 games. But that was, hitting an offense. So this team also has a weird knack for being able to score runs in the 8th and 9th, meaning us, and also being able to we score so many runs with 2 outs. It's like, you get to 2 outs and you're like waiting for that last out, and then all of a sudden they'll get somebody on base and they'll bring them across. And then, there were a lot of guys stranded this last weekend in scoring position on 1st and 3rd that we couldn't bring home. So, it was just bad hitting or whatever. But by and large, this team is pretty good. Rich Wallace this year has shown that he has no problem having our guys bunt to be able to move a guy into scoring position. So he'll trade an out to get a guy onto 2nd or 3rd. And so that's been interesting. I don't like that in tight games. I mean, there's 2 ways to think about it, right? In tight games, you got to get guys into scoring position any way you can. But then at the same time, if your guys have not been hitting very well all game, throwing away an out is when you have a guy on base and no outs. I don't know. But so far it's worked out for us. So to me, this is going to be West Virginia. If they beat us, it's going to be because of hitting. Our guys have the bats that can do this. Their pitching isn't, I don't think, as good as ours. So as long as our pitchers bring the heat, I think we'll be okay, and that will be a big win for UCF baseball. After that, we've got Arizona State, who's also a really, really good team. I think if we win, if we go 3-3 in the next 2 series, even if we lose those games, so knock on wood, hopefully we don't, but if we do, I think we're still in good shape because they're good competition. Right now, West Virginia is ranked number 11. And we've got Kansas right after that, who's kind of been turning it on. They had a slow start earlier in the season, but they were expected to be good, and they're starting to turn it on a little bit as well. Baseball team's doing really well. The changes that they've made in the lineup, as far as hitting is concerned, is really starting to bear fruit. Williamson had a tough game the last game, but he's been hitting pretty well. Smith has been amazing. He's been a revelation as far as our hitting and where he is in the lineup. Really, really solid team and team to cheer for.
Yeah, I will tell you. West Virginia is actually playing right now. I know you went past it, but they're playing right now against Arizona. They have 5 runs on 2 hits. They have 5 runs on 2 hits in this inning on top of the 4th. They got a pass ball that scored someone and a hit by pitch that scored someone and grounded to the 3rd and got one in. We're not going to be playing like that. I will tell you that. Now, mind you, Arizona scored 2 runs on 1 hit as well. So they're going to have a nice little cakewalk in Arizona. They're in Tucson now, and they're going to be flying out to probably, I'm guessing, tonight or early tomorrow back to Morgantown. But I was just popping this in because we were looking at the, when they're playing next. I'm like, what is this game?
So we've got, and that I think actually is a game from when the Pac-12 and the Big 12, when the Pac-12 existed. I think that was a game that was scheduled.
It could have been. They were at Arizona State, so they won that series at Arizona State, so in Phoenix or whatever. But so I think they're doing that Arizona 2-step, but it is a weird one, like a Tuesday Arizona game. I mean, I know they played Arizona State. They're only 2 hours away. You stay a night or so. I get it, but I mean, I've done back-to-back games at Arizona State for other reasons, so it's not a bad drive. But I didn't expect to see 5 runs on 2 hits. They're not going to have a problem with Arizona either, it looks like. And
well, neither neither team is going to play their aces, right? So it's going to be a hitter's game, and West Virginia has the bats, so I expect them to clean house with Arizona. But that is a weird one. But for UCF, we'll
be good
playing back to back away, right? It's going to be a good, at Kansas, a surging Kansas, and against, a good West Virginia team. We're going to see how far this team can go, I think. And I do think we'll get some pitching back later on in the season from some injuries that'll help too. But I think this is really going to be the good litmus test to tell us how good this team is actually going to be. If they go 500, or they win one series and lose the other series, as long as they aren't getting swept, I think you've got. I think this is a team that could definitely will make the Big 12 tournament this year, which we didn't last year, but it could be in for potentially hosting. So it'll be interesting to see how far they go. All right. Moving on from that, I do want to get this in and swivel it to some hoops. So the hoops, we're not talking about the number ones, but it finally happened. Something I've been yelling about for the past 6 maybe weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, something like that. So TM Messer has been let go. And surprisingly enough, everybody's been very, very specific. Even UCF in its press release put out there that it will not negatively impact UCF financially. I don't know what that means because there is a buyout involved unless she's got another job lined up with a right to offset. It'll be interesting to see, but we do need to get somebody in pretty quick. Because the portal will be open.
Hey, Econ.
There's Econ.
See, here's
we missed you, buddy.
Okay. So much. So I've been to these practices for almost 3 years straight. They just got a couple of new coaches in last year to try to fix some of the stuff. Who knows who's going to still be around? And I think
that whole staff is going away, dude.
I think there might be some behind the scenes people that may not, because sometimes there's that continuity, like John Kavatek from who was UCF Video, one of the video production people for forever. When he was here, he stayed past George O'Leary and was around for a while. I think until Gus or close.
Yeah, but that's support staff. I'm talking about coaching.
That's what. Yeah. Coaching, no. Support staff. There definitely could be some support staff there, and we were going to lose our best people if they weren't graduating anyway. We don't spend money. And what was it? Was it Dawn Staley? That's a good coach we should get. No, but Dawn Staley was saying something like the first conversation we have is a little bit about pleasantries, maybe a smidgen about school, and it's right to money. And I get it, because look, the money for women's basketball, women's sports generally, starting
UConn 25 straight wins, or 25th year, or 25 straight wins, and I don't know how many Final Fours they've made, but they're going to be playing. There's 4 teams in college women's basketball that have a chance to win it every year. 4.
Yeah.
Money is more consolidated in those programs.
Yep.
Right. And so you're right. However, I do think
I think 6, but still, you're right.
Okay. So Baylor, you can add on there or whatever.
Sometimes Notre Dame, but you're right. It's so small.
So the good news is that the season is not over, right?
Yeah.
Which means we're getting early enough on the train to be able to have all of these negotiations and conversations. So it's kind of a sweet spot for acquiring women's basketball coaches, because we're far enough along in the season that it's almost over. So everybody who knows is going to be available, and they'll be able to talk during the off season. But it's late enough that we don't look desperate. So I have a feeling that Terry has had this in his back pocket for a while. He knew all season he was going to have to do this. So I'm pretty sure he's got some people in mind. And it's especially interesting considering who the Cows got to be their women's basketball head coach. So he knows he's going to have to make a decent hire there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm wondering. I don't want to give Terry too much credit. I'm not like the anti-Terry guy here. I know that's you, Roger. But I'm
the anti-everything guy. Apparently, I don't know.
Yeah, it's very negative. Now, I'm looking at the Elite Eight. Who are we pulling anyone from these? I doubt it. I was wondering if there's like an assistant. No, I'm with you. No, but no.
We tried the assistant route with Satia Messer. It didn't work out. She was a recruiter. No. She had no business head coaching. I do think this. I do think that going the D2 or low successful lower division or something, like someone who wants, like Abe was great. Abe was a great idea. Was, I think, at Albany, if I remember correctly, did really well there. Came here, brought some people as well, and objectively hit it out of the park. I mean, did as well as Joy did for some time. Went to Georgia. I think they won one in the. I'm checking now. Nope, they lost to Virginia. Who also beat Iowa. They got smacked by TCU, who got smacked by North Carolina, as you would, one of those 6 teams that are almost always in it. So, yeah, it's a very interesting type of year. And listen, what I would like to see for women's basketball, I'd like to see them with 2 things. I want to see an exciting style of basketball that might bring people in some, right? And enough juice to actually get somewhere. Like, make someone who has money and loves women's basketball. We've got to spend some money, dude. Like that's it. And we've got more money to spend this year than we have in the past. So bottom line is Terry cannot go Satia Messer again.
No.
Like, I wish she would have worked out. I think she's got some recruiting chops. She's just not cut out to be a head coach.
No.
So I will say this, Econ Advisor is super excited about football. He says Frost presser today was very revealing. QB starter only for most or all of spring. Hired a cornerback coach who is tops. Now, we didn't talk about that in our preview, and we were going to kind of wait on Allen, but yeah, absolutely on the QB coach. Both the leading wide receivers are back, as is the tight end. And he mentions too, receiving core caught deep passes the first day this year. Exactly. We talked about some of those things earlier. So, at the end of the day, that's exciting. He also mentions one of these things for men's basketball. Obviously, the headline story was Messer finally being let go. Again, I hate anybody losing their job, but it was time. He also mentions the basketball portal opens a week from today. Transfer portal is only 15 days this year, half the time as last. And Dawkins is a core to build on, right? So we've got some NIL money, which is awesome. I don't know. Do you think it's better that there's less days in the portal, or do you think it's worse? Are people more likely to stay if there's less days in the? I don't know. I think there's too much interference going on during the season.
Yeah, I will say this, especially for the women's portal. I'm just talking about women's basketball right now, since we're on the topic. The next coach is going to have to bring in almost an entire roster, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with that.
Not almost. It'll be an entire roster.
Yeah, no one's going to stick around, and they shouldn't. They're smart. If they have options, they want to probably go somewhere where they can do more or show
well,
their work.
our talent was, I mean, you saw that last year. Our talent was
Not
taken and went elsewhere. So
fair. So I'm there's the timing of the portal is only one piece of a really bad puzzle for most of the major sports in college athletics right now, between NIL and all that other stuff going. It's like I was again talking where I was talking with a couple of dads of softball. It's the same thing. Like you can't have a new roster every single year and trying to rebid every single year, and it just doesn't quite work. So it could be 15 weeks for all I care. It's still not great.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me is I just don't know how much of a difference it's going to make, because most of these players have already been tapped on the shoulder. I mean, in some way, right? So the players that are going to go, etc. It would be nice if we kept some of the successful players that we had this year. Obviously, we're going to be looking for a new point guard, although we had some people on our roster that kind of showed that they could be a starting point guard for us. I'd like to see Burks come back. Themis Folks is aged out. So is his PIC. But he's fighting for another year, so it'll be interesting to see if he actually makes it back.
That would be fun.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say,
is who I'm talking about, by the way. If you don't know,
sorry,
I know you know. I was talking about Stillwell, but if the audience doesn't know, we're talking about Stillwell.
I will say this: when it comes to men's basketball, because the funding is going to relatively change, and maybe Repul. Thank you. Repul. I think maybe in the fold still. You see what maybe he is donated as much because he had to re-up his Patino money. But and it's weird seeing St. John's. It's like the St. John's from the 90s that I remember growing up in New York.
But that goes back. I mean, I'm glad you brought that up, because Repul wanted to bring him here.
Mm-hmm.
And Terry decided to keep Dawkins. So if we had him and we brought him here this year, and Repul was willing to fund that team, had we had him coming in, I mean, it's kind of a catch-22, because from Terry's perspective, is like, do you want the Auburn situation, right? Or do you not? And then you've got the situation happening with, hey, we're going to have more money the following year, but then now obviously St. John's is going to stick with him, so we won't have another shot at him. But what might have been had we actually done that?
Well, let's be fair. If we were healthy this year, we would have been one round behind St. John's, doing it the way we wanted it to do. And Patino has some fun things around him, right? So part of me is do things the right way, and we have been, and we're doing pretty darn good doing things the right way. And I'm not saying hiring Patino isn't the right way, but Donnie, Jesus, that's a coach to go. Johnny Dawkins, Johnny, got it.
Yeah.
Johnny Dawkins is going to have zero issues outside, in my opinion, outside of this organization.
Except for GM, except having a turncoat in his camp.
I mean, that's, I don't, well, that's, I don't feel like.
Well, I don't want to rehash the Dawkins thing again, because we've done enough of that over the past couple of weeks, and everybody knows how I feel. So does Econ.
I still think we have funding. I want Burks to stay. I think Burks wants to stay. I'd love to see 2 or 3 people get 2 or 3 years here, where we can both prove if you're good and you come here, you have not only a shot of sticking around, but increase your pay and your training and all the things, because we can't get people to the NBA. So I feel like there is a kind of what econ is like. I feel like we might be able to get a mix of old heads, but people who know the way, who have bought in, and new talent to refresh it. And I agree, Johnson's an interesting one because Chris Johnson, he's different than folks, but he absolutely can be the number one.
He's a score first point guard, right?
But he can be a good 2 if we have another pass first one. And I still would love to see if the funding is right. I'd like to see, like, if you had him and Bol and Burks back and maybe a smattering of others depending on funding. I feel like that's a really good base if you get like another 3 and 1 that work together. I think that feels good. I'm excited about that.
I would like to see Bol back, but we do have more money to play with NIL money this year, right?
Yeah.
But going back to the original question, it would have been very interesting to see what would have happened had we gone that route.
I agree
with Calipari, because given the results that we've seen this year with St. John's, and I think because he was rebuffed, I don't think he would give us another look.
Not Calipari,
especially not now. Huh?
Yeah, Calipari went to Arkansas. You mean Patino, but I'm with you.
Or Patino, sorry. I don't know why I keep saying Calipari. Sorry. Patino kept.
He did good too. I'll be fair. Him leaving and going to Arkansas, they put in some work this year.
Yeah, Johnson also needs to play smarter on offense. Econ, like there were times where he got stuck in traps and did some silly things, and again, you're going to learn. So if we bring him back, I think he's a good piece, and I think he's a starting piece. He has starting potential, for us next year if we can bring him back. But if we bring him, Bol, and Burks back, I think that's a good core to start with. I'd really like to see what Bol becomes. He this past season, he grew, exponentially. I think as much as Chiam did his first season with us, and definitely I think faster than Taco. So the other thing I like about Bol is he's got a little bit of an attitude. He's not the easy-go-lucky kind of guy, right? So it surprised me once he started getting some interviews out there and you actually got to talk to him. He's got confidence. He's got a little bit of swag, which as long as he can control it with the fouling, he learns how to control that a little bit more. He can be a real difference maker for us. So, it'll be interesting to say the least. All right, let's go ahead and move on to and swivit to yet another ranked team, and one that I thought that I said last year was or last week that I said could be a host a regional. I still think they're going to be in a regional. They could host a regional if we didn't have. I think we're one pitcher away from going deep into the regionals. So, and that's because of, quite frankly, that's because of the injury that we had, right? Yeah. However, this team is still ranked, and UCF softball, I think ultimately they're now up to I saw 21 and then I'm seeing 22. So they swept Houston last week, and the Bats have absolutely come alive. Ashley Griffin, someone that I've kind of been giving a little bit of a hard time, seems to have found her groove. She had a couple doubles. She's been doing well the last 2 series. She's really picked it up, even though Texas Tech was a loss. Sweeping Houston 16-1, 11-0, and then 22-8.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Seeing a softball game 22-8, that tells you, when you run rule, you got the first 2 games were run rules. It was 5 innings for both. And so it's like they waited long enough so they get a full game in. They can put up as many. I think it was like 10 home runs in that last game, that 22-8 win, which is a record for UCF. That's never happened before. It's really, really interesting because the bats have really, really, really opened up. Next, they're playing Utah, which will be interesting because Utah, surprisingly enough, has a decent team when it comes to and again, UCF softball, because of that sweep, the standings as far as the Big 12 is concerned, it's a little misleading for where this team really is, comparatively speaking, right? Because of that Texas Tech being swept by Texas Tech. And I'm trying to pull the standings up right now because I haven't looked at them. Again, so we moved up to middle of the pack now. So we're sixth place. We're 6-6 in the Big 12, right? Baylor is just ahead of us at 5-4. The crazy thing is in the Big 12, we're 5-1 away and 1-5 at home, but 3 of those losses, again, were to Texas Tech, and they're ranked number 3, I think.
2, 3. They're insane.
Yeah. So again, this is a team that's 28-10 with a 22-12 Baylor in front of them, 25-10 Oklahoma State, Kansas is 25-10, and 27-8 Arizona. Arizona is a really, 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 really good softball program. We had some, close games that started close and then kind of fell apart last year against Arizona. But I think we are better than what Baylor is, although they play really, really well at home. This team is firing on all cylinders as far as hitting is concerned. And remember, OSU is actually ranked number 12, or is ranked ahead of us in the Big 12. But we did beat them last. Actually, it was this month. The weekend of March 6th through 8th, and we're very, very close to sweeping them as well. So this is a very, very good team. I think the only thing, I don't think there's any question that this team is going to make the tournament. It's just a question of how far they make it in the tournament. And honestly, I think they're about 7 games away right now, 7 wins away from making the tournament.
Yeah, I don't think there's any I don't think there's any doubt of that. I really think, and kind of to your point, who is going to be the second pitcher we need, like the solid
third.
Second.
We've got really 2 good ones.
I mean, I'm talking. Yeah, do we have 2 that can go 7 and get only 1 run in against really hard teams? Because when you get to the tournament, it kind of shrinks down. Like, yes, you have your 3, but it could be Vega and then one other. If we can get close to complete games on number 2, then we have a shot, and then Vega comes back in. So on that third. So it's also a note. I thought Ava was hurt, right? Wasn't it? And the reason I'm saying that is I'm looking at the game statistics, and I thought I saw she pitched during the Houston game, which I must have missed something. I don't know what it was, but I mean, I think. Yeah, well, if I forgot it was Ava or Hildy who got hurt. Maybe it was Hildy who got hurt.
Hildy got hurt.
Yeah, that makes
Ava
more sense.
Did not. I was looking that up. I'm like,
Yeah.
Dempsey,
okay.
Hildy Dempsey was. She was the left-handed pitcher that we had.
Yeah, who was 6-0.
Yeah, and I mean, she was a highly rated pitcher coming out of high school because she's a true freshman.
Okay.
And
I was looking at that Houston game, like, huh?
The good news, though, It's not a pitching injury, meaning it's not her arm, either one of her arms or shoulder or anything. It's a leg injury. She had a cast on, so it looks like it was probably a knee. So that's going to be a longer
ACL
healing
or something. I remember seeing that.
Yeah, I think it's an ACL based on the cast and stuff, which I mean, it's terrible that anybody tears an ACL and it's a long recovery, but for a pitcher, that's not the worst injury for a softball pitcher. For a baseball pitcher, it's hard too because you're putting a lot of strain on your knee when you're pitching the way that they pitch. But for softball, you pitch with 2 feet, and you're not really raising it up all that much. It's more with arm motion. And so for Hildy, the good news with that is it's not her arm, it's not her shoulder, it's not anything else. So that bodes well for next year. But for this year, that was a big loss for us as far as depth of pitching rotation in the circle.
Yeah. I was just looking at who pitched at Houston, and probably because of the 5 innings, like Isabella pitched 13.1 innings, right?
Mm-hmm.
She pitched 4 in the first, the perfect game.
Yeah.
And 4.1 on the last. So but we can't do that that can't happen.
No, it won't. It can't for the whole season. It can't for the whole season, especially not in a regional, because you're playing back to back games. You can't put that kind of wear and tear. And Vega is a special talent, and she's a redshirt sophomore as well, right? From Bradenton. So she's an exciting talent, but we can't make a deep run just on her arm. So
fair. Absolutely fair.
It'll be interesting because we've got a team that is hitting phenomenally, right? Aubrey Evans is hitting well, Samantha Ray's hitting well, Sierra Humphreys had 2 homers this last game. Coco Jaimes is doing much better. We've got Lopez. That's another option, Yesenia Lopez, for us.
Yeah. I'm hoping. Got to go New Yorkers. But,
So
we'll see.
We've got a great hitting team. Izzy Mertez, she's really been picking it up. So we've and Ashley, like I said, that was the one person that was surprised at because she had such a good year last year. Then this year, she just has not been seeing the ball well. Beth Damon has been doing really well. Yarnell. So Ava is the other pitcher. So we need more out of Lopez, in my opinion, for us to make a run.
Yeah. It looks like Reagan, who's also Reagan, who's also a freshman, I believe, too, has been getting a lot of middle innings, couple innings here. That like I'm going back to Baylor. I'm starting to go back because looking at box scores and seeing what's happening, I think it typically is Isabella getting 7 and then a couple of other pieces of it, right? I mean, that's and going all the way back to Oklahoma State game, it's
she just hasn't stepped up yet. So I'm hoping that she steps up because we need to find that third pitcher before the end of the season.
100%.
All right. Let's go ahead and swiv it. That was a lot of softball. Let's go ahead and swiv it to some listener love. So first of all, as we always start, we want to say thank you to all of you that are following, listening, commenting. So make sure you're commenting, subscribing, and sharing our content, because that allows more people to join the party, and the more people that join the party, and the more content that's out there, the more reach that we get. We did pick up 2 new listeners or subscribers this week. So thank you and welcome to both of you. Unfortunately, you have your privacy settings to private, so I can't shout you out. However, I do want to do a quick shout out to Econ, the guy that's lasted with us for 126 episodes and comments. We appreciate you, man. And everyone else that listens. So, or watches us. So make sure to like, subscribe, share, tell your friends. We appreciate all of that, and we do it for you. All right. With that being said, let's go ahead and swiv it yet again to Josh's sometimes funny fact of the week. Josh, you kind of gave a preview to that earlier, but let's go ahead and hit me with your best shot, bro.
I didn't give you what preview. What do you think I was talking about? I got one way in.
All right, we'll say it and we'll see, and I'll tell you if it's what I thought it was.
No, it absolutely is not. I'm going softball. So we talked about Vega being our number one by far. When's the last time someone other than Vega had a complete game for UCF softball?
There's a couple of UCF Hall of Famers that I'm thinking of.
Well, no, I didn't say perfect game, just a complete game. This is a this year thing. I should have done the perfect game thing. I didn't think about that.
Well, there you go. There's your idea for the next time. Just do it next week. Okay. So this year, you said?
Yes.
Have no idea, dude.
Well, we've been talking about this for enough.
Hildy, maybe? Against OSU?
No, but this is the problem, right? The last complete game was by Hildy.
Yeah, well, I got that right.
Throwing 5 innings against Wagner in February 27th, giving up 1 earned run. So this is no one since has thrown a complete game. No one, except for her on the 22nd versus Notre Dame, and winning that game too. So that's kind of, I started going back and back and back. I'm like, oh, this is why this is as much of a problem. So
well, what's crazy is, I mean, we've had a ton of run rule games this year.
Yeah,
more than I would think, right? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 out of our, so half of our wins were run rule games. That tells you what kind of offense we have this year, right? I mean, that's gonna pull you far. But as we saw in, Jada Cody's first trip to the regionals and our last trip to the supers, you've got to have the pitching to back it up if you're gonna make it in the tournament. Yeah. And so that's the big challenge there.
That's gonna be the hard part, because someone's really got to step up. And that's the reality of it. Oh, I will tell you one other thing, and just light. So I told my daughter that she had a perfect game, and we were talking about how rare it generally is, because there's only been 26 in professional baseball, but because of run rules and the shorter innings, it's not as uncommon in college softball. But still, there was only like a couple hundred recently. Like, there really isn't a ton of them. So that was also something.
Well, I mean, if you look at it from that perspective, if it's a couple of hundred, right? 7% of all the run rule games was UCF this season.
Yes.
So there you go. Doing the math with Roger. All right. Putting my engineering degree to work. All right. Let's go ahead and swiv it yet again. To a quick update on other UCF sports that Alan and Andrew do not watch, and probably Trey too, but that's okay.
Yeah, so all I will say, I think one of these things we could do in the future, if you want to give me a style of voice to speak in, let's do that next time. See if we can have some fun with it. And right now, we're going to do normal Josh voice, not the deep, hi, this is Josh Lazar. So we have a ton of top 25 teams, which is probably because we spend too much money on them and not on football. But we do. We have a lot of great teams in all other sports. Number 15 men's tennis team, they did drop from their number 12th ranking because they had that really hard Texas two-step They lost both of those. They're now 17-4. They lost 1-4 to number 2 TCU and 2-4 to number 8 Baylor. Dropped 2 versus Baylor this year so far. Gets a little easier this week. These are 2 teams. It happens. Maybe
number 2 and number 8. I'm not really mad about that. Yeah. They always have good tennis.
Yeah. But we're facing number 39 Oklahoma State in the USTA complex on April 2nd at 2 p.m. in Lake Nona. That's the only game we have this week. So your number 19 ranked women's tennis team moved up 2 spots in the top 25, and now is 14-3. We beat number 43 Houston 4-1. There's 2 games this week in Orlando. It's versus Kansas State on Friday, April 3rd at 6 p.m. and versus Oklahoma State again on Easter Sunday at 12 p.m., which is also Senior Day. Look, I was a little surprised because I know the softball team starts on this Thursday, right? So they moved the entire 3-game schedule back. It's we're not BYU. Let's be fair, but I was just a little surprised when running this that like there's some days I think sports would try to avoid. I guess not. Your number 21 ranked softball team, we already talked about that. They're 28-10 on the season. We talked about they beat Florida Gulf Coast 3-2 in 8 innings and decimated Houston last weekend. We talked about all that earlier. And of course, Vega having that perfect game in 5, 15 up, 15 down. Utah is up next. Not a bad team. They're about like 25-11. They are. I'm going to be at one of those games. I'm taking some of the softball team that my daughter's on to the game, which will be fun.
You're not allowed to go to games anymore.
Yeah, no.
Go to games.
Swear to God, we lose this game. Listen, I'll leave early for losing and see what happens. So they are playing on Thursday, April 2nd at 6, Friday at 6, and Saturday at 12 p.m. We have exactly one. We talked about the next ranked team versus UF. I will say, because I've been getting tickets for other games too, things of note for tickets to softball. That UF game is sold out. I had, not because it's UF, but because it was a weekend that we were available. I had 22 people who wanted to go to that UF game. I called up and they're like, got no tickets. The Kansas game is actually going to be packed, and my guess may sell out a little bit too. And they're a good team too. We're not playing too many. We're not playing too many Houstons.
Listen, softball, Big 12 softball is pretty good.
Yeah. And so if you're interested in going to watch that team, which might be the 3rd best team in campus, or maybe the 3rd most viewed team on campus, as much as coaches wants more people at the games, I have a feeling there's more people at those games than there are at women's basketball and almost every other sport. They are going to be pretty full for Kansas too. So if you want to get tickets, there's only a few more games left in April for you to attend, and they are selling pretty fast.
All right. Before you move on from softball, one thing that I meant to mention but didn't, a little bit of news for Coach Bear, since you mentioned her and it triggered my memory. She's going pro. What do I mean by that? Well, we're not losing Coach Bear, so hold your hats, right? It's okay. Take a breath, grab a paper bag, whatever you got to do. But she's actually going to be also in the summers. They have a 2-month season. She will be coaching a pro team as well as her duties here at UCF. Now, you may remember recently the U.S. Olympic softball team. She was an assistant coach there. It's a very similar type of situation. And, the one thing that kind of concerns me is, do we have a Todd Dagenet kind of situation where our winning coach goes to the Valkyries, and doesn't come back to UCF or not? I mean, the volleyball team seems to have recovered nicely last year from, a little bit of a downward trend. But Coach Bear will be going pro, and she will be a professional coach as well as the coach at UCF, which I think will probably also bode well for recruiting as well. So Sorry, just wanted to add that because that was news this week, and I forgot to mention it. I had it at the top and forgot to mention it.
You're perfectly fine. We only have 4 more things to go because we're starting to. There's a lot of other sports that Alan and Andrew and Roger and Trey and.
What do you mean, Roger?
I know I was sliding one in there. Couldn't get that. Men's golf. They finished 6th in the Mobile Bay Intercollegiate today. There are no rounds this week. Coming up next is the UNC Collegiate on Saturday and Sunday, April 11th and 12th. And the Big Ten. Yeah, probably the Big Ten championship too, but really the Big 12 championship.
Hold on, are we in the Big Ten like the Cows are, since they're screaming about the fact that they're going to be their AAU status is going to get them into the Big Ten? Is that what's happening right now?
Close your eyes and imagine. No,
yeah, exactly.
No, we're and we're going to be in the championships of both men's and women's golf late in April. Speaking of women's golf, they finished 3rd at the Coach Mo Invite and will play in the Huntington Bank Collegiate next Monday and Tuesday, April 6th and 7th. So by the time we chat again, they might have a final round. Again, I think all of the Big 12 championships are like April 23rd to 6th. And
women's golf has picked it up again. They had a little bit of an off year, but they picked it up again. They've been people forget this, but women's golf has been a pretty successful program on campus for a long time now.
Yeah, and I've saw them at it was this year. I saw them at Eagle Creek. I don't think they were practicing. I think there was a game or a match going on. So I was gonna chat with some of the team. I'm like, they're done with their round. They don't need me to bug them. So talking about some more top 25 teams, we got 2 more coming up here. So the track and field team debuted at number 16th in the first, and this is real. This is the acronym USTFCCA rankings. It's a long name. They were one of the 6 Big 12 teams in the top 25, which makes sense because a lot of the teams in the Big 12 have lots of wonderful track and field components to them. We opened our season, the outdoor season, with back-to-back home meets at the track and field complex here in Orlando. Jasmine Newberry led the team with some personal bests in the 400 and 200. In the second home meet, the Knights Invite. Up next are the Florida Relays up in Gainesville on April 3rd and 4th, which is later this week. And last but certainly not least, rowing dominated the regatta. And I love I love words that I don't normally say in everyday conversations. Regatta.
Is it rowing or regatta?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. They swept all 5 grand final races for a second consecutive year. I did a search on the finals. They won every single race that they raced in. Every one. They were number 1. They are number 12. So they secured another Benderson Cup title. They are number 12 in the CRCA poll. That is the highest program ranking ever. They are going up to Ohio State, the Ohio State University, the Ohio State Invite. There's no "the" in the actual name. It's Ohio State Invite. That's next Friday and Saturday. In the 3rd and 4th, they're facing number 20 Ohio State, as well as number 13 Harvard, and number 19 North Carolina. So we have a lot of rowing going on, and I'll tell you, across the board, our Olympic teams we're pretty much crushing it. It's a really, really wonderful spring.
All right.
Love it.
That being said, Econ had a late question here. He said, anyone know which QBs completed the long passes today? So Annette did complete some, but Keon Jenkins did as well. Rocco Marriott, he was kind of iffy, right? So he, but that's what's expected. I mean, this is his first camp, and most of the receivers have been getting time, with Barnett. So,
I have a noodle arm in camp. Come on.
Yeah, and Keon Jenkins is very, very experienced. So, kind of expect that. And again, first spring practice, first camp, he gets a pass. So hopefully that answers your question. Thank you, Econ, for being so supportive as always. Thank you, Night Nation. I saw you guys popping in and out. So we appreciate you watching, viewing, sharing, commenting. Josh, yes, I'll give you a little bit of thanks too for showing up every week
I
with
was
me.
coming in and out.
Yeah, I don't know what you were doing. This isn't the 90s, bro. But that being said, oh gosh, we appreciate all of you. Make sure to share. Yeah, now you're throwing me off. Share, like, and subscribe. Go Knights and
charge on. A lot easier when it's just me. Have you, Roger, heard about this Afro Man lawsuit in court case?
Yeah, the cake guy. Yeah,
the 11 pound cake.